The rain hammered against the windows of the small wooden house like 1,000 angry fists demanding entry. 78-year-old Dorothy Miller stood in her kitchen, watching the storm grow fiercer by the minute. Her arthritic fingers gripped the edge of the counter as lightning split the darkening sky. She had weathered many storms in this house over 5 decades, but something about this one felt different. Something about tonight whispered that her life was about to change in ways she could never imagine. Dorothy lived alone now. Her husband Thomas had passed 7 years ago, and her daughter lived 3 states away with a family of her own. The house felt too big most days, filled with memories that echoed through empty rooms. She had her garden, her church community, and her Wednesday volunteer shift at the food bank. It was a quiet life, a small life, but it was hers. The wind suddenly intensified and Dorothy heard a sound that made her heart skip. A car engine sputtering, then dying, then voices. Panicked voices cutting through the storm. She moved to her front window and peered through the sheets of rain. A white sedan sat halfway in the ditch at the edge of her property, its hazard lights blinking weakly. A man was trying to push it while a woman stood by the open driver's door. In the back seat, Dorothy could see the silhouettes of children. Without thinking twice, Dorothy grabbed her raincoat and umbrella. Her knees protested as she hurried down the porch steps, but she ignored them. Some things mattered more than old bones and aching joints. The family looked up as she approached. The man was soaked through his shirt, clinging to his frame. The woman had tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. 2 small children sat in the car, wide-eyed and frightened. "Come inside," Dorothy called over the roar of the storm. "You cannot stay out here. This storm is only getting worse." The couple exchanged glances. The man looked uncertain. "We do not want to impose," he began. Dorothy cut him off with a wave of her hand. "Nonsense. I am Dorothy Miller. This is my home and you are coming inside right now before you all catch pneumonia. We can worry about your car when this passes." Something in her tone left no room for argument. The man helped his wife gather the children, and they all rushed toward the house. Dorothy led them inside and immediately began pulling towels from her linen closet. The family stood dripping in her entryway, looking lost and grateful all at once. The man extended his hand. "I am Ryan Cooper. This is my wife Jennifer and our kids Emma and Lucas. We were trying to reach my brother's place 2 towns over. We did not realize how bad the roads had gotten." Jennifer bounced the younger child Lucas on her hip, trying to soothe his whimpering. "I am so sorry to barge in like this. We saw your lights and did not know what else to do." Dorothy handed them towels and smiled warmly. "You did exactly the right thing. Now let us get these little ones warm and dry." Within 20 minutes, Dorothy had the family settled in her living room. She brought out blankets and made hot chocolate for the children. Emma, who looked about 7 years old, clutched her mug with both hands, her eyes still wide, but no longer quite so frightened. Lucas had fallen asleep curled against his mother. Dorothy made coffee for the adults and brought out some leftover cornbread and stew from dinner. As they ate, the tension slowly drained from the room, replaced by something warmer. Ryan and Jennifer began to talk. They had been driving for hours trying to escape their own troubles. Ryan had lost his job 3 months ago. They had fallen behind on rent and were being evicted. Jennifer's voice cracked as she explained they were going to stay with Ryan's brother until they could figure things out. "We just want to give our kids a stable home," Jennifer said quietly. "We are trying so hard, but everything keeps falling apart." Dorothy listened the way she always had, fully, completely, without judgment. She had learned long ago that sometimes people just needed someone to witness their pain, to acknowledge that their struggles were real. The storm raged on through the evening. Around 9 o'clock, the power went out. Dorothy lit candles and oil lamps, casting the house in a soft golden glow. She told stories to keep the children entertained, tales from her own childhood growing up in Alabama. She spoke about hard times and good times, about the people who had helped her family when they had nothing. "My mama used to say," Dorothy told them, "that kindness is the only thing we own that multiplies when we give it away. Every act of goodness comes back to us, somehow, even if we cannot see how in the moment." The children eventually fell asleep on the couch. Ryan and Jennifer looked exhausted but grateful. Dorothy showed them to her daughter's old room. "You will stay the night," she insisted. "In the morning we will see about getting your car out." Jennifer hugged her tightly. "You are an angel," she whispered. Dorothy shook her head, smiling. "Just someone who has been helped before. We all need each other in this world." The next morning the storm had passed, leaving everything washed clean and bright. Ryan and Dorothy managed to get the car out of the ditch with help from a neighbor. The engine started after a few tries. The family prepared to leave, but Dorothy packed them food for the road and slipped an envelope into Jennifer's hand. Jennifer opened it and gasped. Inside was $300 in cash. "We cannot take this," she protested. "Yes, you can," Dorothy said firmly. "And you will. Get those babies somewhere safe. That is all I want." Ryan's eyes filled with tears. "How can we ever repay you?" Dorothy touched his cheek gently. "You pass it on. When you are back on your feet and you see someone struggling, you help them. That is how kindness works." They hugged her one more time and drove away. Dorothy watched until the car disappeared around the bend, then went back inside. Her house felt even emptier than before. 3 months passed. Dorothy thought about the family, often wondering if they had found their footing. Then one afternoon, a car pulled into her driveway. It was Ryan and Jennifer and the children, but they looked different. Healthier. Happier. Jennifer ran to Dorothy and embraced her. "We had to come back," she said. "We had to thank you properly." Ryan explained that his brother had helped him find work. Jennifer had gotten a job too. They had saved enough for a small apartment. But more than that, they had started volunteering at a homeless shelter on weekends. "You changed how we see the world," Ryan said. "You reminded us what matters." But they had brought something else. Jennifer handed Dorothy a card. Inside was a letter signed by dozens of people from their church community back home. They had heard the story of Dorothy's kindness and had collected donations. $1,500. "For you," Jennifer said, "because you gave when you had no reason to." Dorothy's hands trembled as she held the card. Tears rolled down her weathered cheeks. It was not about the money, though, that would help with her rising medical bills. It was about being seen. About being reminded that her life, her kindness, her existence mattered. Emma tugged on Dorothy's sleeve. "Will you tell us another story?" Dorothy laughed through her tears and nodded. She had so many more stories to tell. The family stayed for dinner that evening. As they sat around Dorothy's table sharing food and laughter, Dorothy realized something profound. That stormy night, she thought she had been saving them. But in truth, they had saved each other. Kindness had a way of doing that. It built bridges where walls once stood. It turned strangers into family. It reminded everyone involved that they were not alone. Sometimes the smallest acts of compassion create ripples that spread farther than we could ever imagine. Sometimes opening your door to someone in need opens doors in your own life you did not know were closed. And sometimes in helping others find their way, we discover that we were never truly lost at all. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories. Share this message with someone who needs to be reminded that goodness still exists in the world. Together we can create more moments of compassion, more connections, and more hope. Because kindness changes everything. Always.